Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, whenever you are watching this. Today we get to do fractions to decimals to percent, which I think is fabulous because it is something that you have done before, and hopefully it is just a confidence builder day. But I thought I'm going to make a video just in case you're really just not exactly sure what to do, how to do it. So here we go. So I'm just going to take and I'm going to write a fraction, we'll say 3/4. Now, hopefully you already know the decimal for 3/4, but if you don't, here's what you would do. You would pull up your calculator and you would bring your calculator over into your screen, which I can't. So let's do it this way and say calculator. And I would type in 3 divided by 4, hit equal, and that's not right. 3 divided by 4 gives me 0.75. Awesome. So that right there is my decimal. So the way that you do to put it into a decimal, you just do the top number and you then hit divide by the bottom. So really, in better phrases, that would be the numerator divided by the denominator, and then whatever you get, you write down. Now sometimes I'll tell you to round, sometimes I won't, and away we go. Then we also get to go to percents. So whenever I have a fraction and I want to go to a percent, I always go to my decimal first. And this right here says 75 hundredths. Usually we say 0.75, but 75 hundredths is really a good way to say that because it will make other things easier for us. So I just say, all right, 75 hundredths, and I know that percent is always out of 100. Good. So once we've got a decimal, technically you just multiply by 100, and that means your decimal point times 10 moves over 1 times 100 moves it over twice. So this equals 75%. Nice. Now let's think, what if I had a decimal? So let's just pick 0.89. And I wanted to make that into a percent. Well, percent always means out of 100. So this right here is 89 hundredths already. I just multiply by 100. 1, 2. So I get 89%. And then if I wanted to make it into a fraction, I just say what I see properly. So this 0.89, I don't say it as 0.89, I say it as 89 hundredths. And then I'm done, unless I can simplify. In this case, I can't. So that kind of brings me to another thing. Just in case you don't remember the number line stuff, how do I say things? So if I've got a decimal point over this way, I would go to the ones place, the tens place. Okay, you can keep going up in tens. But after the decimal point, what is that first spot after the decimal point? You got it. It's the tenths. There is no once spot. So this 1, you divide it by 10 and you get tenths, and then you get hundredths, and then you get thousandths, and it's got a DTHS at the end. The TH says that it's in the decimal range. So tenths, hundredths, thousandths, then we've got 10 thousandths, then we've got 100 thousandths. We probably won't get any further than, usually we'll go to the thousandths place, and we can go from there. So that is super helpful. All right, let's see. Why don't you try, if you still need some help, let's try 1 or 2 more. I'm going to start at a test, and somebody got 87.5%. So how do I go from a percent to a decimal? Well, do you remember when you went from a decimal to a percent, you multiplied by 100, so you moved the decimal point twice? Well, going back from a percent, you've got to divide by 100, and so this equals 0.875. Then how could I put that into a fraction? Well, I see that this is 875 somethings. So 875 goes in the top, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, so that many thousandths. Now look at that for a second. Do you think that you can simplify it? Yeah, you're right, because it's got a 5 and a 0 on the end. Now, I'm going to actually say that 25 could go into this. You could divide out by 5 first, but I'm going to say 25 goes in there. And I'm going to kind of think in quarters. So if I had $8, that would be 32 quarters, 33, 34, 35. So this is going to be 35. Then how many times does 25 go into here? That would be 40. Am I done? I am not done. What goes into about 35 and 40? Yeah, 5 does. So my final answer comes out to be 7/10. Great. That's just a quick little tutorial. If things are still hard, we do have a nice little note sheet. So I will show that to you, and we'll walk through that too. All right, so here's our beautiful little chart. If I start at a percent, to make it into a fraction, I write it as a fraction with the denominator of 100, because percent always means out of 100, okay? Then simplify, write it as a mixed number if needed, all right? I would also, right here, so to write a fraction with a denominator of 100, that is very good. If you've got, like the last one, that example that I did, if there's a decimal point in there, we want to be a little bit careful with that. But here, this is really good. To move to a decimal, move the decimal 2 places to the left, then remove the percent sign. So I like this fraction thing. I also would add in here that I personally generally make it a decimal first and then make it into a fraction. Let's see, fraction. If I want to go to a percent, I'm going to divide the numerator by the denominator, and that gives me the decimal. Then multiply it by 100, which means zoom, zoom, move that decimal point over 2 times to the right, add your percent sign. Don't forget the signs. Then decimal. How do I take a decimal to a fraction? Read it out loud or in your head, write it down, and then simplify it. Now, if you want a percent, you just zoom, zoom, times it by 100 and move that decimal point 2 times to the right. Add your percent sign. Now let's go back up to this percent. Did I say move the decimal point 2 times to the, from a decimal to a percent? No, when we're going from a percent to a decimal, you go back 2 times. When you're going from a decimal to a percent, you go to the right. All right, so let's come up with some interesting way of remembering that, and when you do, let me know. So look down here, we'll do these together in class, but if I've got a fraction of 4/5, how do I find that as a decimal? Well, I just throw in my calculator 4 divided by 5, and that's going to give me 0.8. So then you write this here, 0.8, and then you can move the decimal point over 2 times to the right to get your percent. So again, we'll take a little more time in class. Make sure to ask if you need more help, but hopefully this is just the bump that you need to remember what we did last year. Have a great day.